Recording here. Make sure we're going. All right. So today I was asked to come and give you guys just the art of resume writing. So we're going to talk a little bit about resumes. We are going to have a few people that drop in that are kind of have some other information to add to just different program type things. So I'm going to walk through. If we run out of sheets up here, there's a Bitly app as well as a QR code so that you can get today's presentation. It also has some templates, some samples, some things like that that you can get access to so that you're not just trying to remember all this information later on, okay? So you can grab that stuff in there as well. So today, all right, so we're going to discuss some resume do's and don'ts. I want you guys to be able to utilize an outline to structure your resume and cover letter. That's the templates that you're going to have access to. And then you're going to highlight some top qualities to put on your resume. Okay, first and foremost, your name's important. Okay? So we want to make sure that your name is a little bit bigger, a little darker, so that you can get the eye drawn to your name. You don't want them to forget who you are as they're going through the resume, all right? Now, I will tell you this is terrifying, so just gulp it down. It takes about 7 to 10 seconds for someone who's reading through a resume to decide if they're bringing you in or not. So that's how long you have. So today we're going to talk about how we do that. If somebody is really, really being focused, really looking for somebody and they're really putting in energy, you have about 30 seconds. Okay? So we want to be able to sell ourselves in that first 7 to 10 seconds, and I'm going to walk you through some things that will get you pulled right out. So here's something, middle names. Do I use them on my resume or not? I mean, they are used for other things, right? Yeah? There's actually research that shows you appear smarter on your resume if you put your middle initial. Do not spell out your entire middle name. Okay? So, put your middle initial down. That actually makes you appear smarter. So, on the presentation, I have the link if you want to go and look at the actual research. So, all right. Your name should be bigger than anything. Okay? You're going to put your address. This is the heading for your resume. You're going to put your address. You're going to put your phone number, and you're going to put your email address. Make the fonts all the same, okay? We don't want any fun little squiggly things. Think about memes. They're all the same, okay? So you're going to make sure that your name is a little bit bigger. You use your middle initial. You're going to put in your address. And here's something that I want you to remember about resume writing. Consistency is key. So we're not going to change the font, the type of font you use in your heading, and then have something completely different in the rest of the resume. It needs to all be the same, okay? Stick with the traditional things. You guys are not in marketing. You're not going to apply for Google. You're not applying for Amazon or some of those new kind of technology-based companies, so you don't have to be super creative, okay? Times New Roman, good, all right? Just leave it there. Okay, and then you don't want to have any ginormous fonts or too small fonts. Oh, if I just make it size 8, everything fits. Yeah, the guy who looks at it for 7 to 10 seconds is going to go, this hurts my eyes. Gone. Okay, 12 is normal. Let's just leave it there. You increase your name size a little bit. 14, okay, not 40. All right. Also, make sure that the email address that you use is not the one you used in high school, like cool dude. Okay. Nothing silly. You want to make sure that it is professional, all right? And make sure that it is linked. It will change the color, I realize that, but that link allows for them to be able to just pull it out if they automatically want to say, I want to reach out to you, okay? All right. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. Some people like to center it at the top, but it needs to be at the top some way. Your name should always be centered so that your eyes are drawn back up to it, okay? You want that 7 to 10 seconds. They can read through, but they'll never forget who you are. All right. So now we need to think about what do we include, what do we not. All right. I have seen some things coming across my desk. You don't need your picture in it. You're not in marketing. They don't care about your face. Okay? Don't put your picture on it. right? We also want to pay attention to the formatting. That's much easier to read. We want the formatting to be the same. If I'm going to left align everything, the entire way through, it's left aligned. If I'm going to center everything, don't center everything. Just don't, okay? But it needs to have the same format. If I'm going to place the name of Iowa and spell it out, then every time I use a state name, I need to spell it out. You can use the abbreviation. I suggest you do use the abbreviations for states. It gives you a little bit more white space, which we'll talk about too, all right? So pay attention to the formatting. So here's some things I want you to question as you're going through on a resume. A resume is different than a CV. A CV is here, I'm going to throw everything I've ever done at you. This is my entire life. Okay? The resume is again, 7 to 10 seconds. What are you going to sell yourself on? All right? So you ask yourself, is it relevant to this position I'm applying for? Why are you including it? Is it because I'm really proud of it, but it has absolutely nothing to do with this? Then we don't include it. Okay? And then how will it help you in this role? If it applies to that role, if it's something that sets you apart, then you include it. Okay? So keep that in mind. All right, education. This is one I always get a lot of questions about. You want to include your education. You want the top is the most recent education flowing towards the bottom. They don't need, now students, I understand a lot of you have been told you're going to put your GPA on there. I will tell you they don't even look at those unless you're above a 3.5 anyway. I mean, they're like, ooh, yay. To be honest, for a resume, that's something you probably don't even need to include unless that specific place is asking for it, okay? So you want to put in what your degree is, where you were getting it from, and you need to have the date. If you are planning to graduate, you can put that forward date, okay? They know, oh, it's not 2022. You're going to graduate, in that year. That's what you are planning, okay? That's not a lie. Don't avoid putting dates on there. If it's something you're like, I just started this 2 days ago, maybe we don't need to include it because you haven't had any classes in it yet, okay? So be thinking about that. Is it relevant for that position, all right? I will tell you that some places, depending on where you're at, if you don't have a lot of experience and you have a whole bunch of education, some places can look at that and say, oh, there's a lot of education, but very, very few actual relevant application of that education. Having a whole list of educational things isn't going to help you. You want to try to build up that experience side too. Okay, so keep that in mind as students. All right, so you can have some licenses and some certifications. Make sure, again, is it relevant? You may have a list of 40. You want to make sure it's relevant. Okay, if this job doesn't require this type of licensing, okay, I am certified as a Tri-M music entertainer. It doesn't really apply to the job. Don't put it on there, okay? And then specialized training and professional development. These are the areas where you could put in some extra information about some specialized development that has helped you, okay? And actually, Vanessa Ross is here, and she's popped in right at perfect time. You want to go ahead and share your thoughts on this.
Hi, everybody. Director of the Continuing Education Program. Do you mind if I just bounce out?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Quick? I'm going to bring up a website. So
Totally
you're
fine.
okay.
I'm going to give you this because it's actually recording from the swivel today, so it'll follow you.
Oh, hello. I wondered what that was. You are so fancy. All right. So I think this is a great, and thank you for having me, by the way, a great tie-in because as the director of the Continuing Education Program, the students here have the opportunity, just like today, to engage in opportunities outside of the classroom. It could be something like this in terms of professional development. It could also be a little more clinical in nature, like Grand Rounds, for example. So what I have learned over the past couple of years is that students, when they go out on job interviews, thank you, and clinical rotations, residencies, the person that they're interviewing with have been asking them, how do you engage with your colleagues or how do you grow professionally outside of the classroom? So by partnering with CTL and some other individuals on campus, the students actually have a place where all of those activities are stored. So let me pull it up here really fast. All right, so hopefully this website here looks a little familiar to most of the students. And everyone here should have an account created their first day of school during orientation, where all activities that you attend here on campus regarding professional development or continuing education is underneath your account. So I'm going to log in here as myself, and I'll show you how to access that. It is, yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you. I just got married. It's still very weird to get used to. Don't even ask me to sign my name. That is worse. That's a duck ray. Why isn't it letting me in? Well, now I might be locked out of my own account. Do you want to log in? Yeah, will you log in? I'm so sorry. I don't know why I can't log into my own website. Yeah, so while Allie here actually has some really good ideas for the couple of minutes that I had listened, I want to mention, though, once you guys actually, the resume kind of gets you into the door, but then when adding your face-to-face with the person that you're interviewing with, I'm only going to bring this up because I just went through a round of interviews, and it was amazing to me when I asked them, what do you know about Des Moines University? And they knew nothing. Like, not even our clinical programs. They knew nothing. They're like, well, I think you guys have, like, a nursing program. So whoever you go to interview with, make sure you know who they are. Make sure you understand the organization's mission statement, what their goals are. If you're going to be interviewing with a clinic, know their patient population, know who they serve, then also know who you're talking to. One person came in and she thought I was going to be a man. I was like, nope, everything here says Vanessa Ross, whatever. So something that's very important, the resume will get you noticed, but once you actually get there, make sure you know who you're talking to. Okay, thank you, Allie. All right, so you go up to My Account, and if you click on that, this is going to have all of your information. So make sure that's updated because the professional development transcript that you print is going to show some of this information. But then you'll go to the My Activities tab. And here is where the list of all of the continuing education activities that you have attended here at the university will be placed. So all of your CTL stuff, Grand Rounds, Friday Research Seminar Series, they're all going to be listed here. This is not something that you'll include, obviously, on your 1 to 2 page resume, but if there's the opportunity for additional documentation or addendums, or you can bring a copy with you to the interview, this is what you'll print. So download PDF. The website is too busy to show. Okay. Maybe it's the web browser. It will download as a PDF. There it goes. Okay. Yep. So when someone asks, how do you grow professionally outside of the classroom, you have tangible evidence to show them that you've engaged in these opportunities. It will set you apart from the next candidate that's going to come through the door who doesn't have these opportunities available, because it does take some extra effort to participate in these offerings. So if you have any difficulty accessing your own transcript, make sure to let me know or connect with Allie and she can help you with that as well. So, oh no, now I think I've prompted the installs. Ooh. I'll just close those out.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Vanessa. I appreciate it. All right. So there are some specialized trainings or development things that you can add if you are looking to fill some space. I will tell you probably 1 or 2 pages. Your players will probably be okay. But you can put those on there. There are professional memberships and things like that that you can include in there as well. Okay. All right. So professional experience. It should be relevant, okay? I waited tables in high school. I was also a rehabilitative provider for students with disabilities. If I'm applying for a special ed job, which one am I going to put on there? Okay? If I'm looking to take on another service-oriented role in maybe another restaurant, or if I'm looking to get a job at a clothing store, then I would be able to say this was something that I did, pull in some relevant skills, okay? Your clinical experiences can be included there too. So as you go out on those clinicals, what things are you doing that is relevant for this job, okay? Thank you. It's like my coffee cup in my classroom. Where's it at? Okay, so your work experience needs to be relevant for what you're putting down. Now, I do have students who may have a full-time job, or not full-time, a part-time job throughout medical school. If it's something that you've had some consistency, I've been working at this job for the past 10 years, okay, that shows some staying power, and so you've got to make a decision. It may not be super relevant. Waiting tables may not be super relevant, but I've done it in tandem with going to school and getting all of this stuff done, right? And I've stayed at this job for 10 years. That does show some staying power. So you do need to kind of pay attention to those things, all right? But if it's not relevant, don't include it, okay? Now, volunteer activities. I see students come in. DMU is awesome with the opportunities you guys have to volunteer. Fantastic, okay? The problem is that you oftentimes are wanting to list all those out, and it can fill up 2 pages just with volunteer activities, all right? So instead, you can create this type of thing, DMU community service activities. You can list some specific support things that you've done, okay, but put in the number of hours that you've served or around the number of hours you've served. That works much better than breaking them up over 7 or 8 different things. I worked an hour here, an hour here, an hour here, 6 hours here, and instead you could give them a total number of participation hours. That number will jump out at them, okay? And you can keep those relevant skills. Again, we're going to be working on trying to make sure that what we're talking about is relevant. So I might have volunteered at the foot clinic. I might have volunteered giving school physicals, things like that. If I'm asking to apply at family practice, those are great relevant skills. What did I do that would be relevant for that actual job location? Okay? So putting in the number of hours is awesome, and it'll pop out for them. Okay? All right, so here's some other areas that I see come across resumes. Your leadership, your research, and your professional development. So the leadership side of this. If you've had a leadership role in med school, it is important to put that down and being able to talk about what you have done to be able to kind of lead others forward in the program, okay? And so you want to focus in on those leading type of verbs, but if you are somebody who is not really interested in doing any type of leadership when you get out or that kind of thing at this time or for that role, you may decide that, nope, this is a research-heavy place. I'm going to spend more time in my research area. You may not want to include the leadership, okay? If it's a research-heavy place, then you want to bring up that research a little bit, okay? So if that place is really focused in on what kinds of research opportunities have you had and what value are you going to bring to our team, and this is kind of our focus, then you want to highlight the research first, okay? You want to really beef up those pieces that you're wanting to apply for. And that's another thing, like Vanessa said, you've got to get to know the place, okay? So if it's a place that is not big on research, they're more about teamwork and communication skills, then those are the skills you're going to want to highlight, okay? And in leadership, that's where you could put some of those communication-based type skills and team-based skills, okay? Professional development, we had talked about that. That is where, this is kind of in the order of where it should go. So that professional development stuff is kind of at the last area of, here's my professional learning type thing. Yes, Terry.
I'd like to just add one comment, that if you are going to put something about leadership or research or professional development, make sure that you can speak to it really well, because they're going to ask you some deep questions. So I'm telling you, don't put it on there for fluff. If you really don't have something to talk about, don't put it on there because it can hurt you more than it can help you if you can't do a whole 2 to 3 minute answer to a question they give you about one of those areas.
Yes.
It's probably not going to be a bunny question.
Right. Yep. We don't want any fluff, right? So no fluffy information. It's good for you to be able to say, I can actually talk to this point. I'm passionate about it, or I've done enough research time. It wasn't like I dropped in and analyzed a couple of reports and I couldn't even tell you what the results were, right? Do not put that down, okay? Not everything has to go on there. If you're looking at that research piece too, I have a lot of students who are like, well, I don't know how to put the research on there. Use your AMA citation. Your actual project that you guys completed, make your name bold. So remember I told you your name needs to stand out. Just bold your name within that list of authors, even if you're the last one, okay? And that's okay. Just make sure you're citing it. I know some places use, some colleges use AMA. You guys use AMA, correct? CHS? I think you guys use AMA. If you are DO site, I think they use that as well, but I have seen some that have come across as APA format. AMA is safe, okay? It's the American Medical Association. So just go ahead and stay with that. And there are some websites that you can utilize for that if you're like, oh, I don't have any ideas. And I can go and pop those into templates today, so I just write that down to myself. Resources for citation. Okay. What are your questions so far about what we have talked about?
Do we include anything from undergrad, or is that just irrelevant now?
Okay, do we include anything from undergrad? It depends on the relevance, okay? And why are you putting it on there? So if it is something that had clinical experience while you were going to undergrad or just before you got into med school, then yes, probably, okay? If it was, I was on the sports team and that's it, no, okay? We don't need to include every dean's list or things like that from everything that we've ever done. All right? You want to make sure that you are paying attention to why you are putting it on the resume. Okay? You can totally share who you are and what you are on your CV if they want it. Okay? But if your resume buys you the interview, that is your opportunity to talk to each one of those points and how it's going to impact that place you are applying to. Okay? So you want to make sure that your resume isn't just fluffy, okay? Honors and awards. Don't put everything down. Okay? You do have to be very picky on this one. They're not going to want to see, an entire page of awards. Well, that's great that you were a basketball all-star in high school. How's that going to help out in surgery? Oh, I know. We won't have to lower the table because you're probably tall enough. Okay? Pay attention to what you're putting on there. Make it relevant, all right? And I would suggest that students, there's not really a space for high school awards on your resume anymore, okay? Those are off in mom's trunk somewhere. That's it, all right? Okay. White space. You need white space. White space will kill you if you don't have it, okay? Now, white space on a resume means that you literally have more white space. You want their eyes to be drawn to the important concepts, and you want it to be clean and organized, okay? If I have a whole bunch of words with no spaces in between, you're making it harder for that reader to get through and see the big points, okay? 7 to 10 seconds, you need more white space, all right? All right, and your bullet points. This is where I want you to remember. Bullet points are needed for your experience, your education, all those little things that you're going to explain. You're not doing it in sentence format. You want to use bullets, okay? That also helps to shorten and give you some white space, all right? I've seen people coming in with entire paragraphs underneath their stuff. They won't read the paragraphs. I will promise you that. Okay, they won't have time. They'll see it and they'll go, yeah, okay. All right? So your bullet points needs to have an action verb at the beginning. created, impacted, developed, things like that. This is one that I see a lot come in, and I want you to pay attention to how many times you say it. Worked with. That's less active. So how I want you to rephrase that is, okay, so I worked with these students in developing these reading skills. Oh, did you hear that? Developed reading skills with students K through 8. Okay? You want to make sure that you're explaining what you did. Working with someone doesn't tell me what you did. You might have stood beside their side while they did the work. Okay? So pay attention to that. If you use any of those words like with, for, pay attention. Is that really what I was doing? Okay? You also want to try to make sure it's impact driven. Okay? Increased student success by 42% through interactive workshops. Okay? I just gave you an impact driven bullet. They know that what I did helps to impact something. So be looking for some of those opportunities where you can actually say what your impact was. And brevity is key. All right? I want you to pay attention to these couple of words. That, get, got. That, get, got. Don't use them in your resume. Okay? Actually, you should never use them in any professional writing if you can avoid it. That, get, got. I see sometimes that students will continue to write prepositional phrases, which are anywhere a mouse can go, on, in, under, over, around. If you use multiple prepositions through a sentence, your sentence is too long. Okay? So you want to make sure there's just one prepositional phrase, okay, and that we are using brevity. We want to be concise, clear, okay? You want to make sure that the information you're providing them is something they can read through quickly, right? Their eyes are going to be drawn to that verb. What did you do? Now, I've also seen resumes come in that have had created, produced, developed, created. You've created a lot. Is that all? Okay? So change up your verbs. Underneath of your experience, you should have, and I would say because of where you guys are at in your experience and education, you probably are looking between 1 to 3 bullets for each. Okay? Don't try to do 7 or 8. 1 to 3 bullets is plenty from where you're at. Okay? So there is some things. There's resume verb wheels that you can pull. I'll put one in there. That you can pull some verbs from and be a little creative. Okay? So that way you're not just creative the whole way through your resume. All right? Okay. Oh, I like this video. See if it plays.
We're running low on resumes over here.
Do you do my job with cost for mechanics?
Well, if you're going to work for mechanics, those are the ones to work for.
Hey, look, you guys, I'm going for anything here, okay? I cannot be a waitress anymore. I mean, sick of the lousy tips, sick of being called, excuse me.
Did you proofread these?
Yeah, why?
Nothing. I'm sure you'll be impressed with your excellent computer skills.
Oh, my God! Oh, you think it's so awesome? All right, so here's some tips on proofreading. Don't proofread your own. Your eyes will skip over something that you have written because it's seen it already. Okay? So ask a friend to proofread it. You can also proofread before you pass it off to your friend if you'd like. To a wall, read it out loud. You will catch error that way because, one, you're actually speaking it. If you get stuck or you kind of like skip over or stutter, you know there might be an issue in that area. So you need to stop and really focus on it. Okay? It also has a reverb. It will bounce off the wall and hit you back in your ears, and you can hear it as you're talking as well. So you've got 4 different ways that you're actually trying to catch errors that way. All right, so remember that. That's a tip for any proofreading. But you need to make sure that somebody else looks at it before you use it. Okay? So here's some other tips and tricks that you might consider doing. And I'm going to put a website. How many of you have ever seen a word cloud? Yep. Most of our professors here use Poll Everywhere. Sometimes those big word clouds pop up. You can take your resume, and there's a link that I'll put into the templates folder for you that you can actually drop your resume into, and it'll make a word cloud out of it. And then you can see the words that stand out the most. Okay, so that can tell you what kinds of verbs you might be overusing. Okay, and if there's some things that are highlighted that are bigger that you're like, yep, this is exactly what they're looking for from the actual job description. Okay, so you can use that. You can also frame your resume around a job description. If you take the job description and pop it into the word cloud and go, ooh, what are they looking for most? Okay, and so then you're going to take and tweak some of those verbs in yours to match their word cloud. Okay, so I'll put that in there for you guys. All right. So, tell me, what questions or concerns do you have?
Do you have a recommended length? Like, she said 1 to 2 pages, but I've heard other people say if it's more than a page, then I'm not with it. Like,
Yep, 1 to 2 pages is good.
Okay.
I would say that you want to save that first page for your most relevant things. So I would say education and your experience. That last half of those are going to be that research, leadership, and any extra professional development you feel is pertinent, and your honors and awards if you feel like those are necessary.
Education, do you only list the schools that you got a degree from?
I would. Yep.
That was kind of my question too, was, so do we just list PA school and undergrad and we don't need to go back further than that, do we?
You do not. You do not need to go back further than PA school and undergrad. You can just list those 2 there. And let me repeat the question. I'm sorry, I was really terrible at doing that for the recording. The question was, do you add all of your education or just the ones that you received a degree from? Just the degree. Okay. And what was your question again?
like,
Length. 1 to 2 pages is good. Yes.
What about schools that use certifications and not just like degrees?
Okay, so if you have gone to a school and received a certification, if that certification applies, it should be on your resume. Okay?
What about awards? Would you want to include awards from undergrad?
Awards from undergrad, if they apply. If there's something, like maybe it was, some type of communication or teamwork thing, if that's kind of a big thing for them, then you can list that, for sure. Oops. Throwing pins. Yes?
Do you include like academic achievement awards on any of it?
Including academic achievement awards can be helpful. If you find that you've got some space on that second page that you're working through, you can include them. I would say you want to limit it to just your grad and undergrad. If you made the dean's list in undergrad and that was about it, like that's your award, I would just drop that off and focus on anything that you've had for graduate school. Okay? If you have 1 or maybe 2 awards, it doesn't highlight well on a resume to put those on there, unless they're major. Okay? So if you just have 1 or 2 that apply to that actual experience or job. What else? Something I have seen students come in, I don't know if I touched on it a whole bunch. There's a lot of great resources out there. There's a lot of fantastic templates and tools. You need to pay attention to your industry, okay? So I have students that will come in sometimes with like these fancy, funky colors. Don't put those on there. You would rather have white space. Your industry does not really call for that. Like I said, if you're into marketing or design or something like that, then okay. But you're not applying to be a blogger for Google, so I don't need your picture and I don't need a whole lot of color, okay? That's something too. If there's a video out there or you have a website that you've built or something that you've done that's posted online, you have an online presence that is powerful for this job description. You can include a technology section in there and just kind of highlight a couple of those skills and then put your link to that website. You could also, if that actually applies to some clinical experience that you've done, you can post that underneath of a bullet point for your clinical experience and allow them to be able to go out and see that link. You've just given them another opportunity to engage with you, okay, as an individual. But make sure that website or wherever you're going to send them is clean, has been proofread, and it is on a reputable site, okay? And that does not mean I want sent to your Instagram account, okay? A LinkedIn account can be a good thing that you go out to. Again, making sure that it's up to date. Anything you give them that they might go out and look at, you want to be sure that it is up to date and it's clear and it's evident that, these two match. Okay? I do know that some people will post a CV to their LinkedIn account. So you can put on your cover letter at the bottom, CV upon request or LinkedIn, and they will leave a LinkedIn link there for them to go to if they want it. Keep in mind that resumes are meant to get you an interview. That's their job, right? The CV can describe everything about you without you there. You're hoping to be able to sit in that chair and tell them why you're good to be there. So resumes are important to remember. Structure, font, white space are huge. Okay? Don't make them messy. They want to see that it's clear and organized and that it's been proofread. I will tell you, I was a hiring manager for a school district, and I was hiring for an English teaching position that we had open. I had 50 applicants in like 2 days. And I said, wow, this is a lot, so let's go through these resumes. I had this awesome checklist that I was going to utilize, and I said, number 1, anything above 2 misspellings or a grammatical error is going to be automatically chucked. I won't even look at them. Okay? And I would be nice, because I also know that perfection isn't real. So I gave them up to 2 errors, but they're an English teacher, so I held them to a higher standard. You are going to be held to that higher standard because there's going to be a lot of people applying for your job. So you want to make sure you set yourself apart and make sure that you don't have something on your resume that makes them go, okay, automatically, without giving you any thought. What else?
Can I go back to the length
Links?
question?
Yep.
If you go on to the second page, is it bad to have mainly white space on it, or should you try to fill the second page?
I would not worry about trying to fill the whole page. You don't want any what I call widows or orphans, so where you have got just a little clip on the next page. If you're at least a quarter to a half, that's fine, okay? But if I've got 1 or 2 sentences, find a way to shorten that up, okay? Yes.
I'm really hardcore, but I'm on a search committee right now.
Okay.
And I will tell you that for the place you are in your profession, I would rather see 1 page than 2, and just keep it really relevant. Because if I get to a point where I think it's not relevant, I'm done.
Yep.
Because again, I've got 20 resumes a day coming in. I don't have time to read the non-relevant, and I'd really rather just skim down 1 page. I'm doing it online. I don't want to go to the next page. So make sure you get all of your relevant stuff on that first page. And if you don't need the second page, at least at this point in your career, I think that's just fine.
Yeah. And I will tell you that a lot of students, where you guys are coming from, 1 page is really good. 2, we might just be given some fluffy stuff. Okay? So pay attention to that. Those clubs and organizations or memberships that a lot of people will put on there under professional development or things like that, if you don't need them, don't put it on there. If you are applying to be a pediatric specialist and you are a part of the pediatric club, okay, that's a good relevant one to use. But if you're on like 14 different committees, I don't need to know all that. Okay? If it's relevant, you put it on. So be very, very picky. You can build your CV with all your stuff on it. and have it available for somebody who might want to go look at it. But just remember, you're trying to give them a snapshot that says, come on in for an interview, okay? And your snapshot has to be very pointed.
So I've been told that you need to list like all of your clinical rotations out with like where you have done and stuff like that, and then like say you're applying for like an orthopedic position and you did a rotation in orthopedics, then elaborate a little bit more on that one. That's what your experience is. Do you actually need to include like every rotation on the resume, or is that more on the CV?
Including every single one of your rotations. I'm actually going to ask Terry to answer this question. So I'm going to give you this because it'll feed your voice today.
I would say at this point in time, yes, so that they know you have completed a well-rounded education. Again, I don't think you have to elaborate on it. I think the person gave you very good advice. Elaborate on the one that is relevant to the one you're applying to, but I would go ahead just so that they know you may be a new grad, but you had all of these rotations and experiences. Now, if you've done family practice in 4 different places and you're not going for a family practice, because I think you guys have to do 12 weeks, you might be able to just put 12 weeks of family practice completed, and then just list all on one line the 4 places that you went. And Allie might be able to give you an idea of how to get that on there in the least amount of space possible.
The best way to do it is if you are someone that's gone to multiple states, is to just utilize the abbreviation for the state, and just put in these various locations. If it was all in one state but you were in different towns, you can just list the towns and then put the state at the end. If you were all in Des Moines at these different places, just put Des Moines. Okay? Just put the city and state. You don't have to put every single location that you were at. If they want to look into that, they could always reach out to you and say, hey, I'd love to be able to talk to some of your preceptors or things like that before, and they could definitely get that information from you. Okay? Yep. Nope, no need to add a preceptor's name or anything like that. If they really badly want to look into that, they'll reach out to you. And that's a good thing. You want them to reach to you. You don't want to give them anybody else's name on that resume because they need to talk to you, okay? Just you. Highlight your name.
That doesn't mean you can't use your clinical instructors, your preceptors as a reference.
Right, you can, yes.
Reference, if they ask for references and you have to determine the reference page, then if you had 2 or 3 preceptors that you really got along well with and you thought you had an excellent experience, use them as a reference.
Yes. Yes, if you want to utilize them as references, that's definitely okay. And you'll need a separate page for that. It's not on the resume. Okay? Okay, yes?
How many references would you suggest?
How many references? 3. We usually say 3 to 5, but you guys, I would say stick to 3 right now, okay? All right, I'm going to hang around. So if any of you have any other questions, you can come down and chat with me. I will add these things to the templates. Feel free to share this templates bit.ly to anybody in your class. I'm going to send it out today for anybody who didn't make it along with the video. So if you have any questions or concerns, come see me. Okay? Thank you.